So what we do, yeah, we've got the camera set, so you can kind of stand over here. People can see what you're talking about.
Well, see, I got into it about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it started
Okay.
with one hive and it got killed.
All right.
All right,
The neighbors exterminated, killed it.
Dan, we're gonna get started.
Sorry.
All right, so welcome to the Houston Beekeepers. I see some new faces and a lot of return members. Appreciate y'all being here. My name's Joe Powers. I'm the current president. Mike Simmons sitting right there is our vice president. Christy is our secretary back at the table, and Rebecca is the treasurer back at the same table. So if you need to pay your dues, you can talk to Rebecca and get that done right here. Or you can go on the website and pay your dues. Right now, if you click the link in the SCEP, that link has expired. So the SCEP link for paying your dues didn't work. But if you go to the website, you can pay your dues, no problem. So some of us, like me, need to pay the dues. So yeah, everybody needs to pay their dues, because if you don't pay your dues, then you can't check out the equipment until you pay your dues. So you make sure that's very important to get that done. So we've got a great program for you tonight. We have, just to kind of give you what we're going to be doing. Mike's going to do a quick presentation on spring tasks for your apiary, and then after that, Victor will do his presentation on apitherapy, which Mike will formally introduce him in a minute. And then at the very end, we can gather over here on the side, anybody who's working on their mentoring or needs to be mentored or wants to talk about the mentor program after the meeting, off the Zoom camera. We'll just kind of have a little informal meeting over here off to the side. So that's going on. So welcome. And Mike, I guess it's your turn. You're on. You're on.
Thank you.
Mike Simmons. Before the meeting started, I got a question about the YouTube channel. So Houston Beekeeper Association does have a YouTube channel, and we post all the meetings we have on there, so they're all recorded. I don't know if they've been posted since December of last year because we changed secretaries, but all the ones from December and before that are online. So if you go to YouTube, just type in Houston Beekeeper Association, it'll pop up. We have our own channel, and they're an hour long each one or so, but you can skip through them if you want to skip through certain parts. We've had some pretty interesting speakers in the past. So talking about spring colony management. So for those of you that are new beekeepers this year, this is probably one of the most important things you do, because you're feeding a lot probably, and you're trying to build that population up. So managing space inside the hive is really important. So the general rule of thumb, everybody's got a different opinion on this. You want a different answer, just ask a room full of beekeepers to get 700 different answers to the same question. But the general rule of thumb is when the box is about 80% full, you want to add another box. One thing I like to do too is take the frames that aren't filled out and move them in one. That way the bees will actually fill them out. If you leave them on the outside, half time they'll never fill out that outside. And then most people are in Houston, they run either 3 mediums or 2 deeps. There are a few people that run single brood boxes. Those are more difficult. You're gonna have more problems with swarming. You can run a deep and a medium. They call it a story and a half as your brood chamber. And then usually after that, when they run out of space in those, then you'll start stacking honey supers once you get to 80% full in that top box. This year seems to be kind of early, so you may want to go ahead and look at putting supers on early if you haven't already started doing it. I say we're probably like 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time that we normally are most years. I got supers on a lot of mine. I'm actually doing splits tomorrow already. So that's another thing you need to look at. Once you get two full boxes, it's time to start checking for queen cells. So you got 2 options with splits. You can either split them or they can split themselves. They're going to do it one way or another. It's their nature as bees. When they run out of space, they're going to make new queen cells. So if you're checking your hives every 10 to 14 days, which is optimal, well, at least I think it's optimal. If you start noticing queen cells, that's where you need to learn what queen cells are mean what. So if you go into a hive and you pull a frame out and it has 1 or 2 queen cells and they're in the middle, most likely those are supersedure cells. So that's when you need to start checking your hive for problems like spotty brood pattern, or if you can find the queen, seeing if make sure she got all her legs and wings. if she's, or, you know, her antenna, if she's messed up, they're making a new queen. In that case, you may not want to split them. They may just be trying to replace that queen. But if you open your hive and you pull out a frame and it's got cells everywhere, but mostly on the bottom, those are swarm cells. So if you catch it before any of those hatches, you can, well, sometimes they'll actually swarm before they hatch, but if you catch that, then you can split it yourself. So the way I like to do it is I'll find the frame with the queen that's existing in there, and I'll move her to the new split. Because that's the way in nature they do it. So the old queen leaves with the first prime swarm. And then it's up to you how many queen cells you want to leave in there. I like to leave at least 2 or 3. A lot of times what I also like to do is I'll take those frames, you know, I try to sell bees, so I'm always looking to increase my apiary size. So I'll take some of those frames that have queen cells on them. Usually I end up like 4 or 5 frames with queen cells on them. So I'll make a split out of each one of those, and then I'll go pull some more resources from other hives and stick them in a nuke box, and then I'll have 5 splits. The other thing at this time of year is really important is mite counts. So it's time to start monitoring for mites if you haven't already been doing it. Preferably, you should do that the whole year. The next meeting, we're going to talk a whole lot about diseases and mites, varroa mites. Now's the time to start monitoring it. You should have already done your winter treatments, hopefully. Hopefully everybody, my favorite thing is oxalic acid. It's, you know, it's organic, registered. It's very gentle on the bees. So if you catch them in usually December, January, when they have very little brood, you can knock down the mites quite a bit. If you haven't already done that, there's other methods you can use. You can use Apivar strips. I'm not a big fan of those, but if you want to use them, they work still. There's formic acid, oxalic acid, hop guard. There's a whole bunch of stuff. If you go to Honeybee Health Coalition website, they have tons of information on varroa mites and how to treat them. They have like a little form you fill out, and it spits out the best treatment for you based on the temperatures and the time of year and stuff, and what your goals are. And then if you're a natural beekeeper, I don't have nothing against natural beekeeping. It's never worked for me. I've tried it. I just ended up with a bunch of dead bees. Well, I know some people that are successful in it. So you can look that up. They even have that on the Honeybee Health Coalition. They have integrated pest management stuff, how to do like drone frames and sugar shakes and set stuff, screen bottom boards, all that kind of stuff, sticky things. So if you want to try those, you can. And that's the big task in spring management. And then if you're trying to, so right now we're probably 6 to 8 weeks from tallow blooming and being in production. So now if you have small hives and you're trying to make honey, now is when you really want to build up their population. So if you like feeding bees, now might be the time, but you're gonna have to be very careful towards the end of that to make sure they're not swarming. So managing space and checking for queen cells. If you want to wait a couple more weeks and then do it, you may not get quite as much honey. But if you only got 3 or 4 hives, 2 or 3 hives, then you don't really want to avoid swarming. You could wait a little bit. Any questions?
How much like the Apivar?
Apivar? Yeah, Apivar is a chemical, man-made chemical. Mainly I don't like it because when I have customers that are asking about my bees or my honey, and some of them are smart and hey, what do you treat your hives with, or do you treat your hives? And that way I can tell them I use oxalic acid. It's a organic treatment. It's the same stuff that's in spinach and rhubarb. So if you tell them it's Apivar, it comes from a lab. A lot of customers aren't into that.
Is it too late to hit it with oxalic acid?
No. So if you want to do vaporization, that works real good. Actually, this time of year, what I would recommend right now, your population is increasing, so your mite count should stay the same or go down. But you want to monitor it now because when you get to the end of or beginning of June, when tallow stops blooming, then your population is going to drop off. So if you have a high mite count, then it drops off. They're going to die over the summer. So yeah. So if you have a mite count now that's 4 or 5, and you want to treat, you can use oxalic acid. You can use all the different methods. The only one I would be really careful with this time of year is formic acid. It's very temperature dependent, and this time of year the temperature swings are so crazy you can end up killing your queen.
Use the oxalic acid pads.
Yeah, and then
Extended release pads.
Yeah, the extended release pads. If you go to scientificbeekeeping.com, he's got a method on how to make extended release oxalic acid pads. Those work great this time of year.
I happen to have up here, a set left over through one eye. In our real project. Oxalic acid. So somebody's already got a high.
And then another thing I'll say, if you're doing sublimation with oxalic acid, when you buy that stuff, if you buy it from a beekeeping store, it's gonna come with a dosage chart on it. I can't tell y'all not to use the EPA certified chart, but those dosages, if you look at the actual scientific researches, those dosages don't work that great. So you may want to Google oxalic acid doses, see what works, or ask me after the meeting. I'll whisper in here what I use.
Look at scientific website.
Yes, so that scientific, Randy Oliver's website, yes, some information on oxalic acid dosing. I've seen some research that says, so I can tell you that, I guess. A lot of the research says pretty much double what the label says.
Hey, guys.
Randy Oliver, his website, scientificbeekeeping.com. He's my favorite, well-known beekeeper.
What about Simon?
Thymol, I have never used it, and I don't know much about it, if it works or not, so I can't tell you yes or no, but I would check out that Honeybee Health Coalition website. Look,
And Randy Oliver
see this research on thymol.
test everything. Well, test that.
Yeah,
Look
he
at
may
the
have stuff.
website.
I've heard thymol more for what those things called? Nosema. I don't know about for world.
I just want to say, I was in my high desk here and I already found the queen cells.
Yeah, a buddy of mine,
Country grown. Big grown.
and Winnie, two of his houses have swarmed already.
I caught it.
Hmm?
I caught it.
Yeah, you caught swarm. Dan said you caught one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same place.
Yeah, on the magic tree.
Yeah, so if you're looking to catch swarms, now it's time
No
to
way,
put traps.
this is.
Yeah, I've already got them up.
Sorry.
That's
Magic
my
tree.
budget trap. A lot of things looking.
Any other questions? All right, so our speaker tonight is Victor Herrera. Say it right. He's gonna be talking to us about apitherapy. So I'm interested in, I've never done any research on this. This will be new for me too.
Big research on it. So I think you like it. Good. You're good. Okay.
Well, good evening. My name is Victor Herrera. Tonight I'll be.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Tonight I'll be talking a little bit about apitherapy.
Oh,
We have a new operator, he's on in.
I know, that's right. I'm definitely in
We're
training.
having some issues with the computer.
Glasses. Here it is.
You need the queen bee here to help him.
See?
There you go. So as you can read in my bio, I'm not an MD. I'm actually an electrical engineer, like many people here in Houston. I got interested into beekeeping and apitherapy a couple of years ago when my wife, when we live in Pittsburgh, she got bit by a tick and then she contracted Lyme disease. We caught the disease immediately. We got the diagnosis right away. And we applied treatment according to the CDC and infectious disease department, and unfortunately the treatment didn't work, right? We visited multiple doctors across the United States and also got consultation from doctors in Europe, and unfortunately nothing worked during that time. We moved to Houston, and this is where we met with different doctors as well, holistic doctors and all these, and we were on the verge of just losing hope. My wife was bedridden. She couldn't say my name, talk to me. And so we lost our hope. We found this information about BVT or bee venom therapy. And we started applying BVT, apitherapy as a holistic method, not just the beehive products or the bee venom, but also changing our entire lifestyle, right? And times moves fast, and she now is at 95, 98% of normal operation. we've been applying apitherapy for the last 5 years. So that's my story. I've learned on the way, by doing things. We live in Cyprus, so it's an hour drive, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. Okay. So I was talking about changing our lifestyle and things like that. Apitherapy is not just bee venom therapy. Yes, that is why it's well known worldwide. However, apitherapy is a holistic approach that we take into our health, and we apply different products of the hive, and we also apply changes to our lifestyle, right? And that is how I've seen people getting better, improving in their health, and having radical changes into their health. So I like to talk about different hive products because I know we know, and everybody loves honey, but within your hive, there's actually different products that you have access to, okay? You're exposed. So pollen and bee bread, well known, right? Those things that the insects carry on the third pair of the legs from the trees, and the bee bread that is used to feed larvae. It's a excellent source of protein, different amino acids, and bee bread and pollen shall be consumed on a regular basis if you're trying to balance your hormones and just as a way to improve your microbiota and just in general to improve your health. There's another product called propolis. Propolis is a resin that also the bees collect from the trees, and they use that sticky thing to seal the holes into the hive. There's beekeepers that actually use the propolis in purpose by putting mesh, type of mesh around the hive. So they mimic the way a natural hive is on the nature. And so the bees will stick the propolis around and create this antibiotic treatment to the hive, right? Propolis has different properties that it works as an antibiotic against some bacterial and also sometimes against some viruses. Many things that I'm going to be telling you today, I'm going to give you scientific reference at the very end. There's some links that I can provide. I won't be focusing on research. I'd rather stay focused on different experiences that I've seen and different things that I've learned. I guess everybody can, allocate time to look into the hard evidence that the scientific community has found around these products. Propolis can be consumed in different ways. You can vaporize it and spray it in the air. We do that at home every winter when the flu season comes. We have vaporizers. You can buy them in Europe. You have to import them to the US, but you basically put a little bit of propolis into the vaporizer, into a capsule, and then it diffuses the propolis around the house. Or you can eat it in a tincture. Basically, you dilute the propolis you collect from the hive and you put it into alcohol, and then you dilute it, and then you create a tincture. All these products can be bought from different also stores across the United States and Europe. Raw honey. I wrote raw honey because it has to be raw, right? Has to be unfiltered, never eat it. I try to minimize the use of chemical products into my hive to none. So natural beekeeping, if you can do natural beekeeping for you to obtain raw honey is the best thing you can do. Nothing against treatments, just I put some emphasis on raw honey, right? Some doctors will actually use hive products in a very specific ways. Back in 2021, 22, before the pandemic, actually, I was in Montreal, and this doctor that is super famous, Dr. Stangasio, he's an Italian doctor, I think. He was giving one of the presentations, and this caught my attention. He said, find the best kind of honey and propolis that best fits with the specific needs on the subject, the geobotanical origin, and the pharmacological effect shall be taken into account when you use these products. What I think he was trying to deliver in his message is that not every pollen and not every honey is the same. Depending on the different regions, we have different types of properties, different types of trees, different types of honey, flowers. And just like into the botanics, all these products can carry different aspects that can be having an effect on your health. So you can see how specific can get, right? Here, well, we have access to, just what we have right now, but you can buy properties from Brazil and then have a much higher effect when you vaporize or when you drink it, right? Can you go to the next one? Royal jelly. I learned something pretty cool when I was at Pimonia. I learned that actually the Chinese people is one of the most advanced people doing research into royal jelly. And they actually get the royal jelly from the XX larva, which is the drone. So they create a lot of drone larvae and then they harvest the royal jelly. For us, the most common access to royal jelly is through the queen cells, right? So you see a queen cell when the egg was laid, and then on the second or third day, you get the most of the royal jelly into the cell. And then if you're lucky, you can get one. Hopefully your queen is alive, and then you can spare that cell and you just eat the royal jelly. This is a great way to boost your immune system as well. There is some proven anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties into this substance. It can help you to reduce cholesterol, blood sugar, and some hormonal symptoms when you're approaching, 50, 55 years old. It's a great thing to have. Bee venom. This is the most well-known topic to discuss into apitherapy. We'll talk about it with more detail. But basically, honeybees are like flying laboratories, flying pharmacists. You'll see that there's many chemical components into the bee venom, and a lot of them work together to deliver a specific, effect into your body. And there is other products that are not very well known, just like beeswax, for instance. When you eat, honeycomb, you eat the wax, and there's some omegas that you can get from there that help you with your mouth and all that. Just don't eat too much because your liver will have a hard time processing the wax. So limit yourself your wax intake. Okay. Larval bees. I was a little bit in shock when I found out that you can, in South America, there's a lot of people having issues with fertility. They have, trouble getting to have kids, and they take the larva from the beehive and they basically take a frame and they mix all these larvae with the royal jelly and the honey and the pollen and the bee breath in one big jar, and they eat it. They put it on the fridge and they eat it in a week. And there's a lot of evidence that people get kids through this way to regulate their, hormones and their immune system. So I'm not saying it's something that is going to help for sure, but it's going to help you to boost your immune system and your system get it more stable, I guess. And the last one that I know of is bee air. So bee air is a therapy that is very well known in Europe. It's been done through many years. Basically, they put hives in a trailer, and they put the hives on the bottom, and they through forced ventilation, they have a little fan on top of the hive, and then they force air through a mask, a tube, picture is not helping. But they basically let people go inside of this room and breathe the air. A lot of people says that beekeepers are one of the most healthy sectors of the population for many different reasons. It can be very well that we are exposed to bee air on a regular basis, right? So, and you can, I don't know if you have paid attention, but when you open the hive when it was closed for 3-4 months through winter, you can smell that beautiful smell that is very unique. That is the air. Okay. Can you go to the next one? So, so this is one of the most fascinating things that you can talk about in apitherapy, right? Using bees or using apitoxin to heal from different type of disease. Okay. The first book that I was exposed to is called Health and the Honeybee. Charles Mars wrote this book, and it's basically a compilation of his experiences trying to help others with arthritis, right? And he noticed that when he was exposing people to the bee stings, people were getting better from arthritis. Inflammation would stop, and if they would do it through a period of time, the disease just goes away. And so there's a lot of research into this field. There's hard evidence that the bee venom works to treat arthritis. Just like in anything, you're not going to have 100% rate of success. There's another doctor that was doing research early in the 1900s called Beck, Dr. Beck, B-E-C-K. He also documented that I have a book where all his memories are put into the book, and he talks about having this effect into people. And he was mentioning that the earlier you cut the disease and treat the disease with this bee venom, the better results you can get. So basically, treating early helps you just like in any other disease. I don't know if that makes sense, right? As you can see, I'm including not just the bees stinging at you, but a different way to deliver the venom, right? So the medical community will not admit that using the live bees will get you better just because they cannot control the dose that is delivered. And the dose of the venom and the composition of the bee venom will change through the year. This is real. You'll have a different component on the spring when the bees have access to fresh pollen and fresh nectar than compared to the bees when they get different type of food in winter, right? And you have also different type of bees, right? Winter bees and spring bees, or summer bees. So it's just normal that you can have these different type of venom composition through the year. So medical community will go more with injections instead of using live bees, right? It's a better way to control the treatment as well. Okay. Can you go to the next, please? You have to coach me on time. I'm the worst on that.
You're good.
Okay. So I was talking about holistic approach. In my experience, when I went to Mexico for a training with my mentor in Mexico, I was fascinated by the fact that he was stinging at people with different type of disease, like MS, MS, arthritis, some issues with the back, with the lumbar, some issues with diabetes, high blood pressure. And I was fascinated by the fact that he would actually allocate a lot of time to talk to them. Okay. It'd be a room like this, everybody would be sitting there, and he would just walk through the room talking to everybody. How do you feel today? How's your wife? How are your kids? And then boom, 1B. Okay, and then next one, Michael, how are you? How many hives did you treat yesterday? Boom, 3 more. And I understood that he was talking to the different, I want to say subjects, because again, he's not a doctor. Patients is also a way to say it. And he was listening to them. And at the same time, he was interested on everybody of, each of them. He was making suggestions. Maybe you should be eating these. Maybe you should be trying to improve your vitamins into these. And, listening to them. And I was just, I understood this as a binomial relationship between the expert and the person that is getting the treatment. So to me, that is one of the key elements into apitherapy. Obviously, changing your habits, the way you eat, what you eat, when you eat it is key, right? Just like in any other disease. Treating mind, this is part of the conversation that he used to have or has with the people, and how he listens and how he delivers the message, and then other people talks to them, and just building a community, and having this approach to different patients. I was fascinated. And obviously the body, right? Doing the right exercise, sweating, doing some therapies like cold plunges, and then going to sauna. Those are things that also help my wife to get better, right? When I saw that last year, and in retrospective, I told my wife, we did many of these things, many not in this exact order, but we didn't, and they worked, right? So anyway, that is the holistic approach that I wanted to mention. In terms of bee venom has over 50 different elements in the composition of the bee venom. Everybody knows how it works. Basically, the bee will sting you, get the stinger there, and a mechanical element will pump the venom into you, and then you get a big thing right there, rash. So, the bee will die after that. So unfortunately, if the bee will leave the intestinal tract there, she's not lucky. There's different elements into the bee venom. There is noradrenaline, water, fructose, glucose, different peptides, potassium, calcium, iron, all type of thing. But there is one element that is very interesting, and that is the melittin. Melittin, it's a substance that is actually impacting bacteria. When you get it, it will go after bacteria. So that is one of the elements that you have to keep in mind, right? Melittin. All these elements work together to allow the bee venom and the different substances going through your bloodstream. So some of the elements will cause a histamine reaction, like to help other substances to have a therapeutical effect in your body, basically. So it's really interesting when you get into the details of how different substances work together. Okay. Something that is really interesting. Apitherapy has a lot of similar things to the how do you pronounce this? The herbolaria. When you eat or drink substances from the nature, like plants, they will cause something that is called healing crisis. So basically, you're feeling really, really bad on your arthritis. I'll tell you a story of my wife. My wife was really bad, right? She couldn't talk to me and anything. We started with bee venom therapy, and then she felt even worse. The first couple of weeks, she was worse. And we were like, okay, are we doing the right thing, or what is going on? And that is when we found the healing crisis. So basically, you have to feel worse before you start feeling better. So that is something that has to be accounted, because it's not going to be a magical effect right away, right? Some people experience what we call the honeymoon, which is you are sick, but you are not to the point where you cannot move or you cannot talk, and then you start feeling better right away. Oh, this is working, and this is your kind of your honeymoon period, right? And then after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, when you start increasing the bee venom into the number of stingers, they will actually start getting these healing crises. Histamine reaction. So I guess anybody in this room could apply a bee sting to your family or yourself, or somebody that you may think that is sick, right? And you may have heard, oh, you have arthritis, you're gonna get better, right? And then you go back to your house and then you do it. Anybody can apply a stinger. The issue actually, and the risk, the highest risk that you're gonna face on apitherapy is what are you gonna do when this person or yourself are having a reaction to the bee venom? That is a true answer. That is a true question. And there is no an easy answer. Okay. And even yourself, when you go to the beehives and you're working on your bees, and I hear some of the beekeepers say, I'm all suited up and I'm wearing gloves and I'm wearing my everything, right? And I haven't got stung in a year. And I'm just positive. If you go to YouTube, you can find some videos from Michael Palmer. Michael Palmer is one of the greatest beekeepers in the US, Michael Palmer. He has developed a 25-year sustainable apiary with no treatments, and he's just great. But he talks about how one, the likelihood for a member family of a beekeeper is 4 times more of having a histamine reaction or allergic reaction just because you're part of a beekeeping family. And he explained this much better than me, but he basically says that when you are exposed to the bee protein indirectly, your body will create different cells than when you are exposed directly, right? So I go to the beehive, I get stung, I eat honey, I eat pollen. My body's happy, you know. My body knows what this bee venom is, right? So he knows that he's gonna be inflamed a little bit, maybe during the first couple of months of doing beekeeping. But then a year after, 3 years after, you don't get anything. I get stung 20 times last week, and I got nothing, like not a rash. But he says in the video that his grandson was getting into the truck and then he got stung, and then 30 minutes later he ended up in the hospital. And he was wondering how this happened, right? Well, and then he makes different recommendations. He says, well, if you are exposing other people to the bee protein by bringing your bee suit and hugging your song after doing beekeeping and all these, you are actually exposing them to this protein, and their bodies are going to have a different reaction than your body, because your body is having this direct interaction with bee venom. And then 3, 4 years, 10 years later, they get stung, and then they get a huge reaction. This is a very critical situation that you as a beekeepers need to be addressing. Okay, I'm not gonna go more into that, but what I was trying to get is, what are you gonna do with that person when that person gets stung the first time or through the treatment, right? There's different rules that you have to follow. You have to understand that simple things like, I was very angry this morning. You know, me and my wife just fought, and then I'm coming here to have my first sting, and then I'm gonna have a histamine reaction. Or I was yesterday at the doctor having my tooth removed, and I was exposed to anesthesia, and then you sting at them, and then they have a huge allergic reaction. Or I had 2 Advil this morning, and I go and check on the hives, and boom, histamine reaction. So there is rules that we have to follow in apitherapy to make sure to reduce the possibility for somebody having a reaction to the bee venom.
What are the symptoms of histamine reaction?
So a histamine reaction is very interesting, but once you get stung, it can be an immediate reaction, or it can be a delayed reaction. It can take up to 24 hours to develop, but you may start feeling like your throat is closing. You may start feeling like your throat is itchy. You may experience redness on your skin. You may get really thirsty. Okay, you may get a little bit of brain fog, or you get a little bit dizzy, right? And you don't feel well. And then you may want just to go and take a nap. Say, okay. Those are typical reactions to histamine.
tongue swells.
Yes, absolutely. You start swelling.
Does that mean you could develop immunity to bee venom with multi-stings or not?
You don't develop immunity to bee venom. That is one of the most interesting things that we learned. Your body will not develop immunity. You just get, the effect is much less than the first time. But you can keep stinging on you, and the body will not get used to the venom. So in other words, you will get all the benefits from the bee venom without having the effects of the swelling. So in other words, this is perfect for when you're fighting against some bacteria that is been there for a long time. The bacteria will actually be killed by the bee venom over time, and it doesn't develop a natural defense just like your body. Mhm. And then I wrote that first session because I wanted to give you an example of how a first session goes with somebody that is looking to get better with apitherapy. There's some questions that you'd be asked, like, are you angry today? Did you sleep well? Did you eat well this morning? Are you allergic to any other medicine or food? Interesting, but you consume large amounts of seafood. You have any anesthesia in the last 24 hours? Are you have you eaten honey before? And have you been stung by a snake or any other different insect? And have you developed a reaction to that? That will give you some sort of indication on how this person may react, right? And the most important is, are you coming because you want to be here? And that is something that I didn't understand. And again, I cannot provide you with a lot of details, but when I've seen people taken by the husband or by kids saying, dad saying, I need my daughter to get better. But when you ask the girl, are you here on your own? It's like, no, my dad is forcing me to come here. You don't apply therapy to that type of people. It's like your body is coded to react in those type of things. So the chances of them getting a histamine reaction are higher. So the same thing when you go and check on your bees and your wife told you, you have to check on those bees today. You better wait. Just,
I think my wife's ever said that.
right? Is that the last one? I don't know. I have a list of different diseases that some doctors have treating here in the US with bee venom therapy. Again, it includes mainly arthritis, Lyme disease, fibromyalgia, in some cases Parkinson. And one thing that I learned when I was in Mexico, learning about how people get treated, is some people will get to the apitherapist and say, I want you to treat me for high blood pressure. I'm like, okay, we know the stinging points. By the way, there's a map in your body that you sting depending on your condition, right? For my wife, Lyme disease, the most known protocol is stinging, along your back. You do 10 stings every other day for 2 years. So she has marks on the way her back. You address 10 stingers here, and then on the middle side, and then on the top side, getting to the different vertebrae on your neck. But for instance, high blood pressure is treated by helping the heart to beat slower. So you apply some stings here, right? And then some people will say, okay, I need to be treated for arthritis, and you start working here. What I learned is that you can address the symptoms, but underneath there's going to be a disease or condition that you need to be addressing. So this is why it's so important to treat this in a holistic way, because you can address symptoms, right? The blood pressure maybe is a symptom of metabolic disease, something like it's affecting your pancreas, your liver, but you get blood pressure. Okay, we can treat the symptom, but the disease, where it starts. And something fascinating, there's a way where you can sting somebody, and the honeybee and the venom will tell you more or less where is really the disease happening. Kidney, liver. This is fascinating. That is what I was saying, that honeybees are flying, pharmacies and labs because they are a huge, beautiful screening machine. They will help you to identify, they will help the apitherapists to identify the disease and how to treat it. So I know this is a lot of information. My intent was not just to, not to throw a lot of details into this. So just give you a general perspective, but there's fascinating things happening with bees out there in apitherapy. In the US, there is a very well-known doctor, Dietrich Klinghart. He's in Oregon, I believe, the latest location. He helps patients with some disease like Lyme disease. And so the medical community is really putting an emphasis into bee venom therapy for some diseases. Here in Houston, we used to have a very well-known doctor who retired, unfortunately, but I haven't found any other one applying therapy here in our area, but there's many out there. Okay.
What was their name?
In Houston, I have very low memory. Give me 1 minute.
Sorry about that.
I'll go back. No, it's okay. I think that's it. Can you click on the next one? Yes. So, again, my contact information is there. We do not do apitherapy. We provide with honeybees to whomever needs them. And if they have mainly Lyme disease, we'll answer questions and help them to go through the healing crisis and, just questions they may have to the protocol. We don't do it here in the US because there's a lot of liability things going on with that. But I say we can help others, and we actually are helping other people to get better and healed, just like my wife. So that's my story, and that's a little bit of the apitherapy story that I learned. Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
So do you do all of you do the stains, you take the bees in and do the stain yourself?
So Michael said, if you ask a room of beekeepers with 100, you'll get 200 different opinions. A lot of people will actually leave the stinger for a long time to it natural falls off, right? Some people will actually just leave it there for a couple of minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes. The reality is 80–90% of the venom is pumped into the skin in the first 2 minutes, minute. So, and the chances of you getting that spot infected increases as you have the stinger more there.
So
So
I'm asking, are you going out there and bringing the bees in for your wife and you apply them for the stains?
oh yeah, at the beginning during the first year, I bought a nuke, and then I just put it in my backyard, and I was collecting the bees there, and I was just with a butterfly mesh, just put them there and get 10 of them, and then heading back to my house, and then trying to get them initially with tweezers, and then I just learned to catch him, then put him in the bag. I got stung multiple times. That was just part of the story.
Different variety of bees have different compounds in their venom.
This BBT applies to Apis mellifera. So that is the, whether it's Russian variety or Italian variety, is as long as it is Apis mellifera, will have this main composition into melitine in the chemical substances.
Because I know I've got one of the places I keep my bees. I know I've got 2 hives back to back. One of them's docile as can be, and the other one, I guess, has been Africanized because they are not very many bees in that box, but every one of them likes to sting.
Yeah. A lot of apitherapists say that, yeah, that's right. Pain is not related to the healing process. So sometimes it will sting, it will, hurt really bad, and sometimes you're getting most of the venom and it won't hurt you. It's just, yeah, the fact that they are different species that won't change the composition of. The composition of the venom will change through the year according to the different food that they're exposed. That is a fact. Yeah.
I've heard some beekeepers say that when you get stung, you take raw honey and apply it to the sting and it neutralizes it. And I thought you mentioned about actually ingesting. Now, have you seen which works better, ingesting or applying it topically?
To reduce the inflammation or the itchiness.
Yeah, if a bee stings you,
Mhm.
that there's some beekeepers claim if you apply raw honey to reduce the sting, and you don't buy that.
I mean, I used to do it. I used to eat it. I don't think there is evidence to say this is better than this
And the
one.
bees are in Austin claim if you eat honey, they don't sting you, but I think he's so full of it that he's just doing a TV show.
It
I eat
could
honey
be.
every day. I get stung all the time.
Yeah.
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 I didn't know it was still around. I think it's been back for.
Well, there's a show, I don't know if he still, I mean, he was selling honey big time in Austin, but he got run out of town.
That happens.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Food offline.
This one right here.
Oh, sure.
Here.
That's a great question. I don't have an
Can you
straight
repeat
answer.
the question?
So the question was, what makes bee air a great thing to do? I don't have a straight answer. What I can tell you is from some evidence when you vaporize the propolis, which is a product that is inside of the hive. Some beekeepers claim that they get sick less. They don't get as sick as other people during flu season. And just the fact that propolis do have a documented effect against viruses and bacteria, it can be assumed that the bee air has some of that property, some of those properties as well. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of evidence, but anecdotal evidence sometimes is the base of that bigger research that needs to be done. Mhm.
A question is more for the group. How many people keep an EpiPen near their hives? I don't know. I haven't done it yet, but it's one of the things that has been suggested by my family because we're starting to eat. And I was just curious how many people have one.
Yeah, I have one. I got one.
You've got one? Y'all have them?
I require in one of my clients by contact.
That's one.
You can get one, go see your doctor and decide if you tell them what it's for. They always decide that they're like $400. They've got to replace them every 2 years.
I pay 25.
There's coupons you can get, and yeah,
I
But,
got a coupon. They ship the body bags all the time.
that's right. There is
But you have it just in case. Better to have it and not eat it.
so once you apply the EpiPen, you have to run to the hospital.
Yeah,
I'll give you-
a while.
Yep, I'll give you a better option if you allow me. So oregano oil, the oregano, like the
Oh,
herb,
oregano,
okay,
yeah.
oregano oil. Buy some oregano oil and then just one drop, put it on a glass full of water, and then ingest some, just a quarter of the glass. It's very, very strong. So just get accustomed to it by drinking just a little bit of the oregano oil with the water, right? Oregano oil can stop a histamine reaction. One more thing, if you feel you're having this histamine reaction, the first thing you can do is actually soak your head and your chest in cold water. So you run to the front yard and then you tell your husband,
I think I'm more concerned about the kids that might be coming around,
Mhm.
and using EpiPen for them and taking to the hospital. If it were me, maybe something else I would try, but
Right. Yeah, exactly. But the issue with the EpiPen again is you have to go to the hospital because of set of adrenaline. But there's things that you can do naturally to stop the reaction. Also, if you eat honey and pollen before visiting your hives or other people when it's around, the chances for you to have a histamine reaction are way lower. You can stop a histamine reaction even with another bee sting, but I won't tell you where.
People are taking antihistamines before they go on the bees. What do you think of it?
What's that? I'm sorry.
I know people who take an antihistamine pill before they go on.
So the argument was there's people who take an antihistamine pill before going to the hives. I don't have an opinion of that.
So I have a question regarding that. So I bought myself a fancy new bee suit for Christmas and it had a round bell by versus the fencing bell they used to have. So as I was looking down, I was wearing a ball top, so the bell collapsed and I promptly got two stings in my upper lip. I ended up looking like Homer Simpson with that upper lip. But the one thing that I realized, I was lying on the couch like this, icing me, and I noticed everything was running to my right side of my face and my lymph node was swelling quite significantly. So as to relate it to, so I assume, so when you say, so once you get stung, the bee venom gets picked up by your lymphatic drainage system, and I assume, so when you say dependent different diseases or different things that you want to have are going to be different placings. So I assume that you target specific lymph nodes that pick that something up.
That's right.
So the other thing that I want to say, so since I was lying like this and it all went to the right side of my face, I have pictures to prove it. I sent as we go. If I would have probably laid down the other way, it probably would have run over to the other side. So that's, whatever you do after you get treated with a sting, does it have an effect on the treatment? Have you ever experienced anything like this? What you do after the fact?
So in our experience, there's different paths in your body, right? Just like fascia, muscular fascia, there's things that connect. So for instance, for Lyme disease, you sting along the spine because through the spine, you have access to multiple organs. So that is why we sting on the top first, and then in the middle by Wednesday, and then the back, lower back by Friday. So we have access through the nervous system through different organs. So that is the logic we follow.
Okay.
So
you never said, okay, you're gonna sting me there and you just have to lie on your right side for the next hour or so.
no, I mean,
Okay. Just think of it from the end of one that I just had.
yeah.
Victor, could I add something?
Sure.
The person I trained under would do honey pools after doing the spinal treatment. And using the honey and massaging. Makes the venom around the torso. That's one way to move.
Okay.
And it does take sometimes 10 to 15 minutes to get things sooner. That's part of the treatment. So that would be a way without leaving.
Yeah.
And then what I do for myself is I carry children's clear Benadryl,
Benadryl.
and you swish it around in your mouth. It makes it swish it around. So that's what that's what. And you can swallow it or spit it out. But if you do that while like the mouth, you can pretty much
It's a great advice.
yeah, you can do that in the car.
They have that topical gel.
Yeah, the top.
And I always did it. As soon as I get started to take a knife, take the thing. No, but I see the swishing around it.
That's something good.
Yeah.
It's got a swallow.
Yeah, like in a tube, then drill tube.
I used to have these pins. I don't sell them. They have it in regular.
I think you're good.
Okay.
These things don't move.
Thank you so much.
All right, Victor, thank you very much. That was great. All right. Don't get your books up here.
Oh, yes.
All right, great talk by Victor, and also some interesting things about if you get stung by a bee. When I get stung up here, I swell up and it runs down my face. It's a little weird. You know, my neck is swollen up the next day. But anyway, okay. So we still have door prizes to give out, and today door prizes, we have a Veromite checker little bottle. We have 2 hive tools. And we have a state of Texas sign for put up at your farm or whatever. It talks about that it's a tourist place and you can't sue people if you get hurt going on a ecological tourist thing. I forget exactly the wording in that sign, but it's something along those lines. And then also that I've got that I brought the extended release oxalic acid pads. There's 2 pads in there. That's enough to treat 1 double deep. And you put it in and leave it in for 60 to 75 days. And you can read all about it on Randy Eller's website, Scientific Beekeeping. So I made a bunch and just had 1 left over. So, okay. Coming up, we have the Texas Beekeeper Association. That's summer clinic. That's in June, I believe. And maybe in Allen, Texas, if I remember correctly.
It's up near Dallas.
Huh?
Up near Dallas, right?
Up near Dallas, somewhere in that area. Yeah. So that's the biggest one. That one is, it's an all-day deal. It costs around $100. I haven't looked exactly the price, but it's usually around $100. And you get basically 8 hours of education, and you can go on different tracks. There's a new beekeeper track. There's a track for if you're planning to do, like if you've been keeping bees for 5 years, there's a track for that because maybe you're doing more splits and trying to figure out how to grow your own queens and all that. So there's all these different tracks, so you can take as much detail or as little detail as you want about bees. And it's just a really great thing to go to because you learn a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah, they usually have like 4 or 5 different classes every hour, and you can pick that class you want to go to. So,
Okay, want to do the drawing?
all right. So, 26, Terry Harrell.
Barry, wins again.
I'm just glad Nicole didn't want to be.
I know Nicole's gonna win. Did you sign in? If she did, she'll probably win.
Brian, is that Gibbs?
That's me.
All right, they're back there on the table. You just go back and pick out what you want.
I got a buddy named Brian Gibbs. Victor Herrera.
Oh, come on.
Come on, man. All right, man. Random number generator. John Swanson. And Leanne Grimes.
All right, so since I've got you all here and we're also recording this, we met last month at First Christian Church, which is on Sunset. And that's the second time we met there. The first time we met there was Shelley was still the secretary. We met there, treasurer. We met there the last meeting before COVID hit. It was our last in-person meeting. At that meeting, we had 90 people come to the meeting. Last month we met there, we had 40 people come to the meeting. At Bayland, we're getting an average of 25 to 30 people at the meeting. So we're considering if we can work it out with the church to move our meeting to there instead of here, because we just get more people. It's obviously more convenient for more of our members because more people show up. I mean, it's not scientific. It's just, it just is what it is. So if you've got a strong opinion about that,
Acoustics in that place is horrible.
well, we were in the gym. There's another room you can meet in if we get a better, because that was kind of an emergency meeting because this place was closed for the voting. But there's a better room that we can meet in, and the acoustics is a little better. So, yeah. Anyway, just talk to me or whatever afterwards, or Mike or Christy or Rebecca. Just let us know if you've got a strong opinion one or the other. Really appreciate it. And that about does it.
So if anybody's interested in volunteering at a school next week or next month on April 19th or the day, I'm doing the FFA, what they call it, Adventure Day. It's in Mont Bellevue, Texas. So way out east side of town. But April 19th. If anybody's interested in doing that with me, let me know. Huh? Yeah, the whole day. So it's, they have, I think they're, can't remember, second or third or fourth graders. And they bring a class in every 15 minutes, give them a quick little, these are bees, and then you show them some live bees and they freak out. I have to keep them covered. We don't pay attention to my lecture.
Three-year-olds, 30 minutes at this church somewhere, I believe